Hello and welcome back to the reputation experiment that we've got going on. Hope you're all doing well today. Today's experiment is part 2 of the experiment we started off at the weekend. Essentially, what we've done is we've taken all the Premier League reputations and we've swapped it with teams from the Vanarama National League. So the teams in the Vanarama National League are some of the best teams in terms of reputation in the world now, whereas the Premier League sides like Man United, Chelsea, whatever, they're not very good anymore in terms of their reputation. No one really knows of them. No one's heard of them before, sort of thing. We also swapped the reputations from League 2 and the Championship as well, just to sort of complete the cycle there. League 1 stayed as they are, and we've seen some interesting results so far. If this is the first episode that you're watching and you missed part 1, there'll be a link in the top of the screen right now to go back and watch it. I recommend you do that to sort of catch up on this, because it's really quite a good episode, that first one. A lot happens in that, so go catch up and then get back to this one and we'll get going. So last episode we went 5 years in the future, from 2018 to 2023, so that's 5 seasons played, and we've seen already quite a bit of movement to the point where Salford United have been promoted from the Championship and they are now going to be in the Premiership when we start this next round of fixtures and next round of season. So as you can see, Salford have been promoted, so next time we see them they should be hopefully in the Premier League and probably challenging maybe for the title, because they've got a really high reputation. It might have dropped a little bit because we swapped them with Manchester United, who are at 8,650. So as Salford have moved up the tables pretty quickly, the reputation has taken a hit because they're not playing in Champions League, Europa League football. So the reputation has taken a hit a little bit, down to 7,333, but that's still really, really high, and that's only going to increase now that they're going to be in the Premier League. So expect Salford to be a very, very good side. We also saw last time Burton and Aldershot getting promoted from League 1 into the Championship. So hopefully we'll see them progress into the Premier League by the time we get back from another 5 seasons simulating as well. So that'll be quite interesting too. I'm really looking forward to it. I think it's going to be quite an exciting episode. I think a lot of stuff is going to happen in this one, so I'm excited. I'm pumped for it. We're going to go straight into it though. We're going to go 5 seasons into the future once again, into June 2028. Hopefully a lot of change has happened by then. Before we do that though, it would be great if you could drop a like on the video for me. I'd really appreciate it. And if you are new around here, please do feel free to subscribe, because it'd be great to have you on board on the channel. Make sure you turn those notifications on so you don't miss another episode like this one in the future. And so here we are. We are now 5 years in the future from where we were, and my plan was actually to start off in the National League, like we did last episode. We started the National League and started to build up to see where teams were. But I have just seen that Dagenham are in the Premier Division looking for a manager, which is pretty exciting, to be fair. Dagenham, they weren't even anywhere near the Premiership, I don't think. They weren't even in League 1, I don't think, by the time we saw them last episode. So this is quite exciting. What I think we are going to do, though, I think we are going to start back at the National League, though, because, of course, a lot of teams won't be promoted from National League yet. Theoretically, 20 teams will have been promoted, but that's not all of them. So let's have a look at the actual league table now, which looks very, very different to how it looks in real life now. Maidstone have just been promoted alongside Morecambe. Sutton United still not been promoted. They're still there, as are Maidenhead and Hartlepool. So a few teams still not being promoted, but teams like Charlton are in the National League now. Scunthorpe always seem to end up in the National League. Beautiful stuff to see Grimsby relegated from the National League as well. That's really good to see. I love to see that. Blackpool are down here as well. That's another interesting one. Blackpool as well. So quite a few teams have dropped down because they've got to make way for these National League sides. Because the National League sides, of course, we gave them Premier League reputations. And because of that, every player wants to sign for them because they've got such a good reputation. And that's why we've seen so many teams progress. That's the reason. And of course, with that high reputation comes really, really good financial gain in terms of sponsorship as well. So all these non-league sides that have been promoted up, they'll have massive sponsorships now to really help them progress. So that's the change of makeup from the National League. As you can see, the past winners of the past few seasons, Harrogate, Wrexham, Halifax, Maidstone, a lot of them going up, not coming back down again. Let's go and have a look then into League 2 and see what's going on there. Like, what teams can we see here? So Portsmouth, Halifax, Carlisle, Southend promoted. So Halifax promoted, that's good. They're a National League side. Leyton Orient missing out on the playoffs. Gateshead are there as well. Newport County, actually they're not non-league side, are they? They're a League 2 side, so let's ignore them. If we look down here, Boreham Wood are there as well, but not many National League sides. Wrexham as well. So I think this must mean a lot of the National League sides that we boosted reputation for are now in League 1, the Championship, and the Premier League, which is pretty crazy, to be fair. So this is a good sign, I've got to say. Not many National League sides here. If we go into League 1 then, and look at the league table, sorry. Chesterfield have been promoted, Forest Green, but they're not National League side anymore. Harrogate are in League One, Barrow are there as well. Barrow for a period of time were the fourth most reputable team in Europe, so they didn't capitalise on that clearly. They didn't manage to get the players in that they needed to progress pretty quickly. But Southampton have dropped down to League One. We saw a bit of an error with their reputation. I think I must have messed it up, so they've really dropped down. I've hampered them quite severely, so I'm sorry to Southampton fans, but we didn't mess up Newcastle's. Newcastle's reputation was not messed up, and they finished below Southampton there. So Newcastle really suffering there, as are Brighton, who have just avoided relegation there. The reputation has really taken a big hit to some teams, Fulham as well. Dover have been relegated there as well, but we can't complain too much about that, because I think we're going to see quite a few teams in the Championship and the Premier League as we now move up into the Championship. Over the past few seasons then, how has this changed? So Leeds, Swansea and Crystal Palace have been promoted from the Championship. Northampton are actually doing very well in the Championship. That's an interesting one to see. I'm a fan of that though. I like to see Northampton doing well. That's a good one. Of course, they must have swapped reputations with... There's a spreadsheet, of course, that I did. I'll put the link in the description again for the spreadsheet of who I've swapped reputations with. We'll do that once again. Northampton though, they're looking pretty good in terms of their reputation. They're on nearly 5,500, which is pretty good. Ebbsfleet are in the Championship as well. And so are Fylde, but I've not really seen like the Salfords, the Dagenhams, the Barnets, the Chesterfields, the Aldershots. I've not really seen them, so I reckon the Premier League is going to be very, very different. So let's go up to it now then. Let's see who's in the Premier League then. And blimey, Arsenal have won the Premier League, but Barnet have come runners-up in the Premier League by 3 points. Barnet are doing absolutely incredibly well. Aldershot have also secured Europa League football as well in 7th place. Salford just missed out in 8th. And Dagenham and Redbridge have been relegated from the Premier League, but hopefully we'll see them bounce up pretty quickly. But that is phenomenal, because all we've done is change the reputation, and that just shows how big of an impact reputation has in this game, because within 10 seasons, Barnet are runners-up in the Premier League. And that's crazy. Well, I suppose then we better look at this Barnet side then. What kind of players have they got? They've got Troy Parrott, who's a wonder kid. He's a Tottenham wonder kid. He's going to be a very good striker in the future. Dominic Calvert-Lewin is playing for them as well. Trevor Chalobah in defence. They do have a very, very good side. Some decent players there. Jota, that must be the Birmingham Jota maybe. No, a different Jota, not the Birmingham one. Although has he just moved to Aston Villa? Or is it West Brom? He's moved to one of the two, I think, hasn't he? I think it's Villa Jota's moved to. So Barnet have some really decent players there, to be fair. That's pretty impressive. What about Aldershot? Who have they got in their lineup? They've got some good players. Mason Mount, in particular, he's a very, very good player. Mason Holgate as well, also a really, really decent player there. So they've got some good ones as well. Barnet doing quite well as well. Aldershot, sorry, doing very well. And if we look at... Because Aldershot, they swapped with Arsenal, didn't they, I think? Or I could be making that up. No, I think Arsenal did swap with Aldershot, so that's very interesting to see. Arsenal have obviously recovered with their reputation. Their reputation is only 4,500 actually, so they've not really recovered in terms of reputation, but they've just been able to keep the money and keep the players coming in, I suppose. The Premier League, though, has dropped down to 98th most reputable league in Europe, though, which is interesting, because it started off at 93rd, because, of course, we swapped the Vanarama National League reputation with the Premier League, so... It was very interesting to see that. Let's look at the competition reputations then, because the National League's only dropped down to 5th, which is weird, because I'm pretty sure all of this reputation should be to do with how clubs perform in Europe. It's all to do with the European coefficients. And as the National League has no direct route into European football, I would have thought it would have dropped down massively, but it hasn't. So I don't know if I've just bugged this out and this isn't working as it's meant to work, because it should be... The Vanarama National League should drop down. The Premier League should go up again as clubs start to do well in Europe and things like that. But I suppose we can't complain too much. It's just must be a weird bug or something. So looking at the past winners, actually Barnet are the first team to finish inside the top 3 from the National League, outside the Big Six really. Because since this experiment has started, it has been dominated by the Manchester clubs and Liverpool, and now Arsenal finally winning one as well. But Barnet runners-up, that's fantastic to see. You love to see that. Obviously, Aldershot must have won a cup along the way, because they've got Europa League football, so that's exciting to see. Let's have a look at the transfers then. Let's have a look at some of these transfers over the past few seasons. We'll go back to 23-24 season. So Harry Kane left Tottenham to go to Atletico Madrid for 73 million, which is pretty big to be fair. And Salah went to PSG. So they managed to keep hold of some of these really top quality players, despite the reputation hit that Tottenham and Liverpool will have taken. They managed to keep on to 2 really key players there, to be fair. So that is quite impressive. Son Heung-min has gone to Liverpool from Tottenham as well. But a few players are leaving. Man City's signing a few players there. So it's not really taken that big of a hit to the Premier League players in terms of keeping players and signing players. 24-25 season, though, this is when Barnet start to spend quite a bit of money, as you can see here. Jeremy Toljan, William Carvalho all signing for Barnet, which is pretty cool, to be fair. Andre Onana as well signing for them. That's pretty decent, Barnet doing so well there. 25-26 season, it's Barnet who are spending the most money. £21 million there on a player from Porto. And Salford spending some big money on Sam Surridge from Barnet for £18 million. So a lot of movement going on. Barnet seems to be making so many transfers. I did not expect of all these clubs it was going to be Barnet that were going to be doing the best, if I'm honest with you. But fair play to them. They're doing phenomenally well. And again, season afterwards, they bought Jota from PSG for £24 million. I mean, they are splashing the cash. They are spending so much money on players, which is quite funny, if I'm going to be honest with you. I quite like to see it. It's quite good. And again, £21 million, the biggest transfer of the season afterwards, is to Barnet and things like that. Interesting, though, that not a huge amount of money is being spent. £21 million being the highest transfer fee in the entire season. That's significant because, you know, in today's game, that would be quite a small figure. So, obviously, the reputation has taken a big hit and clubs aren't buying players in the same sort of level of spending as they have been previously, perhaps. So that's an interesting one. Barnet offloading a few players there as well, getting rid of a few of them. And obviously, it worked out quite well for them because they got rid of the Deadwood, brought in some good players, and they came second in the Premier League. I forgot to even look at Salford and Dagenham as well. We won't take a massive look at them, to be fair. We've not seen many transfers come through for them. But they've got some Angus Gunn in goal. That's a pretty good one. Kyle Walker-Peters still playing for Salford. He's been there for a long time. Kyle Walker-Peters. He's been there for an awful long time since joining from Tottenham. Salford's reputation, though, is down to 5,180 now. So it has taken like a 3,500 reputation hit, to be fair, on their way up to the Premier League. So they've really taken the hit, actually, which is a bit surprising. Once they finally start to get some European football, that'll start to go up again. But Man United, they've swapped with Salford. And Man United have actually got a better reputation than Salford now, which is... That just, I mean, it's 10 seasons, it's a long time, of course, but that time in the Premier League has really helped Man United get their reputation, or start to get their reputation back up, and Salford haven't been able to capitalise on it. I mean, they have done, they're in the Premier League, they have capitalised on it, but not capitalised it on the sense that they managed to get themselves into the Europa League or Champions League and things like that. Speaking of European football, though, it is interesting to see that only 3 teams are now getting European Champions League football. It does mean that, obviously, teams in the Premier League are not performing in European football. That's why they've restricted the number of Champions League places that these clubs are getting. A quick look at the Champions League. It's continued, hasn't it? PSG and Atletico Madrid are constantly winning it. It's just those two sides, which I find really interesting, to be fair. No matter who comes up in the final, it's always one of these two sides winning it, which is a bit of an odd one. But you know what? That's just Football Manager for you. And in the Europa League, of course, we saw Man City win it once. Liverpool have also won it as well, but since then, no one else getting there. So maybe Barnet. Maybe it's going to be Barnet or Aldershot. They're going to be the next winners of a Champions League or Europa League, and that would be mental. So I think it's probably worth having a look at the reputation table. We're on the national side here. We go to clubs, and you can click on lists and click on reputation. You can see who is the most reputable, and apparently, according to this column here, it's Halifax who are the most reputable club in the English system at the moment. So Halifax, what is their reputation? 6,500, 6,600. That's very good. I think Halifax may have swapped with, could have been Burnley, actually. One of those sides, maybe. Obviously, that reputation hasn't changed that much, but they've not capitalised on this too much, have they? Because they're still in League 2. I think they've just been promoted from League 2, but they're still in it. They've not been able to capitalise on it as much as, say, a Salford or a Barnet have, and they're in the Premier League. But Salford and Barnet have lower reputations than Halifax, which is a little bit weird. Wrexham are then second. What's their reputation then in League 2? Again, another club in League 2, 6,400. So I don't know why their reputation hasn't been hampered that much. And then the team in third is Harrogate, apparently, which is an interesting one. Their reputation is 6,300. So some clubs are doing pretty well, to be fair, in terms of reputation. Liverpool are currently the best of the actual existing Premier League sides. Their reputation seems to have recovered then. They've got up to 6,000 again. They must have been swapped with... I can't remember. It must have been swapped with Tranmere, I think, maybe. Tranmere might have been swapped with Liverpool. So, again, they've done really well to get themselves back up to that reputation. But Maidstone are there, Carlisle. I mean, Maidstone are still in the Vanarama National League, and they've got one of the highest reputations in all of the league. They've just won the league, of course, in the National League, but they've still got 6,100, which is crazy, to be fair, considering that they've not done very well. So I'm not quite sure why they've kept their reputation so high, but a team like Barnet, who have got all the way to the Premier League, come second in the Premier League, their reputation has dropped down to 5,500. I don't know why that's happened. I can't quite explain it, but it's just the way Football Manager works, I suppose. It's a bit of a weird one. But that's an interesting look. That's a very interesting look. In terms of reputation across all the divisions, this is how it currently looks 10 years in the future, which I think is pretty mental. I think next episode, what we're going to do is we're going to go another 10 years in the future. Let's stop doing 5 years. We're going to go right for it. We're going to go for 10 years in the future for next episode. And hopefully by that point, we're going to see an awful lot of change. Hopefully like Maidstone and Halifax will get to the Premier League with their reputations intact. That would be quite good. But I'm excited for it because this has been a really, really weird episode. It's been really cool as well. I think a lot of changes are going to come in the next 10 seasons. So it's going to be a good one. So thank you very much for watching today's episode. If you've enjoyed it, please do put a like on the video, and it'd be great to have you on board. So do feel free to subscribe if you are new around here. There's going to be a subscribe button on the middle of the screen right now that you can press, and then you've got a choice of 2 videos to watch. You can either watch another experiment of mine, or you can go and watch the Lincoln Loco series, which I highly recommend. It's a pretty decent one, to be fair, and we are, as Lincoln United, now on the cusp of maybe Premier League football, so get involved with that one. I'll see you next time for another 10 seasons. Have a good one. Goodbye.